Hey everyone, it's Kevin, and this is a video to create these blooming roses in Blender 3D with grease pencil and geometry nodes. If you don't know what grease pencil is, it's an object within Blender that allows you to draw 2D and 3D space. And geometry nodes is a node-based system that allows for creating complex 3D models, procedural effects, and animations. I'm a bit overdue on this one. I originally created these roses 2 years ago as a fun grease pencil experiment. I was trying to understand the 3D aspect of drawing with grease pencil and tried creating an animated blooming rose. And then last year, I reused those assets to create these generative roses with geometry nodes. I created them in addition to a few new ones as part of this Art Nouveau inspired florals piece, and if you want to check out that breakdown, I'll put a link below. I did a few more experiments on it, and now, nearly a year later, I'm just getting to some sort of a project breakdown. I know geometry nodes is a constantly changing feature, and dedicated support for grease pencil with geometry nodes is planned for future updates. But I wanted to make this video for anyone that was curious and wanted to experiment with this setup. I'll have this file available for download on my Gumroad page. For the overview, I'll be using the roses. When I initially made this, I referenced a video from All the Works channel, so if you want a more holistic tutorial on this, I definitely recommend checking out their channel, and I'll leave a link below. The way I have this set up is I have these grease pencil elements, which are these rose heads and leaves instanced along a curve using a geometry node system. When grease pencil objects are instanced in this way, they can also retain their animations, which is why they bloom. And when selecting the curve and going into edit mode, I can adjust the points along the curve to increase the length or move its position. This also means I can use the draw curve tool, allowing me to create these roses almost as if it was a brush. The geometry node system is split into 3 parts. The first is the stem, which is the path we'll be drawing. The second are the leaves, which are the 5 here. They're instanced and rotated along the points of our path. And the last are the blooming rose heads. There are 3 different ones, and their animation is offset from one another and randomly picked from the collection they're in. All of these culminate into this end result. To roughly break this down, I'll start with the stem first. Here I have a curve to mesh node that uses a curved circle as a profile curve. Then I've used the set material node to designate a brown material, which is just a diffuse BSDF set to a brown color. For the rose leaves, I created 5 different grease pencil objects and put them into a collection. I added a instance on points node and brought in the leaves collection to instance. This resample curve node adjusts the amount of leaves on the curve. Underneath that are the nodes that control the rotation of the instances. The align Euler to vector ensures that the leaves are upright with the curve tangent node to help follow the curvature of the paths. The nodes under that control the scale. Spline parameter determines the total length of the drawn curves, and this color ramp set to constant controls the visibility of the instances along the curve, white being 1 for scale and black being 0. That's why the leaves don't continue all the way to the top or to the bottom. This multiply node here is added to increase the sizing a bit in comparison to the rest of the design elements. To the right, we have a rotate instances node controlled by a random vector value node. This allows for more randomization only in the Z for those instances. And the last part are the rose heads. They're set up very similarly to the rose leaves, except that some of the numerical values have changed and it instances a different collection, the one with the 3 rose heads. For the rose heads, they're made entirely using grease pencil. If you want to check out that process in more detail, I'll put a link to that video from 2 years ago where I first showed them. Basically, I created them petal by petal and used the interpolation tools to animate their position and scale. The layering for this object is a bit of a mess, but hopefully it's still understandable. And because they needed to work in a more 3D orientation, the stroke depth order is set to 3D location for all the layers. The roses are all the same with, again, their animations offset a bit with the colors adjusted. Going back to the geometry node setup, I have the resample curve value set to accommodate where I wanted the rose to be visible, and in this case, it's set to 0.15 meters. Then I've instanced the rose head collection. For rotation, I've actually pulled in one of the instances and used their base rotation and adjusted it accordingly. Then for scale, I have it to where the rose heads only display at the very top of the curve. To the right of the instances on points node, I have a few more nodes to randomize the rotation and scale of the rose head each time a rose is drawn. Then I've used a join geometry node to combine them all together, leading to the group output node. Now in the file, I have the other system I didn't walk through, which is this flower vine. You can find those specific grease pencil assets in the flower vine collection. This system utilizes the same idea of the roses, except I have these flowers instead of leaves and these golden roses. There's also a few more elements here that I've instanced, but again, you can use the draw curve to create new vines if desired. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this overview to create these fun flowers with grease pencil and geometry nodes. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks again, and see you guys next time.